Okay, today's lesson is a continuation of what we started yesterday, which was equations of circles. So before we get into any new material, I would like to have you review what you learned yesterday and try problems 3 and 4 right now. So go ahead and pause your video. Try problems 3 and 4 on page 161. So if you have your textbook, you can open up to 161. And if you don't have your textbook, then just copy these two problems down in your notebook and see if you can come up with the equations, and then press play to check your answer. So the equation of a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where h and k are the x and y coordinates of the center. So we'll put 1 in place of h and -4 in place of k and 2 in place of r. And so our equation then is x minus 1 squared plus y plus 4 squared. It's plus 4 because it's minus minus. And then the radius squared would be 4. Number 4, do the same thing. It's going to be x plus 2 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals our radius squared, but we don't know the radius for this one, so we have to, if we graph this out or use the distance formula, we know our center is at -2, 5, and it goes through the point -2, -1. So if we have a circle centered here that passes through this point, the circle is going to have to look like that, and that means our radius is 5, or actually 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I only put it at 4, but it was supposed to be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if this is at 5 and this is -1, that makes our radius 6. So then this is 6 squared, or 36. Okay, so now moving on through the section, the next thing we're going to do is learn how to take an equation in expanded form like this and convert it into the standard form for the equation of a circle so that it's easy to find the center and the radius. Written this way, we can't tell by looking at that what the center is and what the radius is. In fact, we can't even be sure that it's a circle the way it's written the way it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to complete the square for x and complete the square for y, and then that'll allow us to put it into the standard form so we can find the center and the radius. So in order to complete the square, we'll take the x components, which is this, and put them together in their own parentheses, and then take the y components, the y squared and the 6y, and put them together, and then move any constants to the other side. So in this case, we move the 30 to the other side, it becomes -30. Okay, so we have 2 blanks that we're going to fill in, and we complete the square the same way we did in the section for solving quadratics by completing the square. We're going to take half of this number and square it. So half of -10 is -5, squared is 25. We also have to add that to the other side. Half of 6 is 3, squared is 9, so we add 9 to both sides. And that gives us perfect squares. So if we factor this, we get x minus 5 squared. If we factor this, we get x plus 3 squared. And then if we add up all the numbers on the right side, we have -30 plus 34, which is -4, or sorry, -30 plus 34 is +4. And so that means our radius is 2. So our center is 5, -3, and our radius is 2. And then you can sketch a graph by starting at that center and using the radius that we found. Okay, so go ahead and try, let's see, example B is actually a little bit different because of the 4 that's in front of each of these. And so what we're going to do is first factor out the 4 from the x's So we take these two x terms, factor out the 4 out in front, and we're left with x squared plus 2x. Take the y terms, factor the 4 out of that, and we're left with y squared minus 4y. And then we still have the positive 11. So we're going to move the 11 to the other side. It becomes negative 11. Then we're going to complete the square the same way we did in the last problem. But one thing that's different is since we have a 4 out in front of these parentheses, we have to put the 4s in front of these blanks over on the right, because this is going to be 4 times whatever's in that blank and 4 times whatever's in that blank. And so that's why we need to have the 4 here and the 4 here. And so when we complete the square here, half of 2 is 1, squared is 1. So we put 1 in each of those. Half of negative 4 is negative 2, squared is 4. Okay, and so since this is 1 and 4, 1 and 4, when we factor that, we get x plus 1 squared. And we get y minus 2 squared. And then on this side of the equation, we have 4 plus 16, that's 20, minus 11 would be 9. And so then x plus 1 squared, y minus 2 squared equals 9/4. So what we did is we divided both sides by 4, and that gets rid of that 4 and that 4, and that's why on the right side we have 9/4. And so we can say that our center is at -1, +2, and the radius is the square root of 9/4, which is 3/2, or 1.5. So our center is at -1, +2, and the radius is 1.5. So if we go 1.5 in every direction, our circle is going to look like that. Okay, next go ahead and try problem 5 on your own. Complete the square and see if you can get the circle in standard form, and then sketch the graph. So pause your video, press play when you're ready to check your answer. So if we separate the x terms, we have x squared plus 4x plus blank. Then the y terms, y squared plus 6y plus blank equals -4 plus blank plus blank. So to complete the square here, we're going to have 4 and 4. To complete the square here, we're going to have 9 and 9. And so then that is x plus 2 squared, y plus 3 squared equals 9. And so our center is at -2, -3, and our radius is 3. So -2, -3, and our radius is 3, so we'll go 3 in each direction. And our circle looks like that. Okay, for problem number 6, we first need to factor out the 9 from the x terms. And so that's going to be 9 times parentheses x squared minus 6x plus blank. And then factor out the 9 from the y's. We have 9 times y squared minus 8y plus blank equals -209. And then we're going to have, we have to have 9 in front of the blanks on this side also. So I'm going to need a little bit more room. I'll move this down here. And so we're going to have plus 9 times blank plus 9 times blank. And so go ahead and see if you can finish that problem off, complete the square, find the center and the radius, and then graph your circle. So to complete the square here, we're going to have plus 9, and then here we're going to have 16 and 16. And so this is 9 times x minus 3 squared, 9 times y minus 4 squared equals, on this side of the equation, we have negative 209 plus 81 plus 9 times 16, and we get 16. And so if I divide everything by 9, then we have x minus 3 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 16 ninths. And so our center is going to be at 3, 4. And our radius is the square root of 16 over 9, which is 4/3. And so our center, 3, 4, is right here. And 4/3, we go 1 1/3 this way, 1 1/3 this way, 1 1/3 this way, and 1 1/3 that way. We get that circle. And so that completes our lesson on section 4.1 on rewriting equations of circles. Have a great day.